Hello and welcome to another Friday lunchtime learning session in the ABOO Facebook group. I hope you've all had a good week, and I hope you're as excited as I am to have Patricia Maddalena with us. So Trish is an NLP master trainer, an integration therapist, an Amazon #1 best-selling author in the UK and the USA, and a transformational teacher on the platform. It's IAUSM, but pronounced awesome, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Very clever. And of course, she's the author of The Happiness Hacker Revealed, among other things, and a number of workbooks. So welcome, Trish. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you very much.
It's great, and you do a whole load of other things. I can see behind you you've got your logo for Wigglebums, which is a kids yoga and mindfulness group. So tell us about that. Tell us about all of you and how you got to where you are now.
Thank you. Yeah, Wigglebums here. I founded it with my sister Claire. She her and I think it was about 4 years ago now. She found Wigglebums, Lunchtime, which is a pregnancy yoga teacher training and postnatal yoga teacher training and antenatal education. And we were losing our mummies when the babies were crawling in the lessons. It was time for them to leave. So we were losing our mummies, and it was a really sad thing. We were losing an opportunity really to help parents develop themselves as parents. So we put our minds together and we created Wigglebums and Wiggle Kids, which is a kids yoga and mindfulness and sensory play class and teacher training. And together we've probably trained up maybe well over 100 women and launched their businesses and support them with their businesses as they grow and expand. And then from there, Wigglebums has grown again. So we've got more teacher trainings. We have adult mindfulness and meditation teacher trainings. We have specific kids mindfulness teacher trainings. You can deliver those classes just for mindfulness for children that are finding life a challenge at the moment, anxious, stressed, overwhelmed. So we've got classes for that. And then now we've just launched Yoga Moves Schools projects, which is really exciting, with my business partner, Tracy Derrett. And that's a specific training for teachers so that they can deliver 1 minute mindfulness, movement and meditation activities in the classroom, peppered throughout the school day as and when the kids need it or as and when the teacher needs it. So that's very exciting. So we're always on the go. We're always creating new things. And yeah, my kind of original job, as it were, is a therapist. It still is. That's my baseline. But I suppose Wigglebums is my little attempt at helping tooling children up with a toolbox that's going to sustain them for life. So that they don't have to come to me when they're 30.
Yeah, absolutely, that's fantastic. But also, I think what you've encapsulated and developed is something that's incredibly useful to parents as well as teachers. And I think that's what you're going to talk about today. I mean, a lot of children in the UK especially have just gone back to school last week. And it could be that this is a good time to talk about how to alleviate tension between parents and children.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that. Tell us about mindfulness and NLP, what it is a bit, in case anyone isn't aware, and how it helps in this situation.
Yeah. So they're my favorite tools. They're in my toolbox. Mindfulness, NLP, EFT. If people don't know much about it, they are NLP is neuro linguistic programming, EFT is emotional freedom technique, and when you use them together, you can create a really deep and everlasting change. It can alter a negative cycle of thinking. It can change a negative cycle of feeling, of behaving, and it's something that if you use every single day, it becomes much more effective. So yeah, I mean, mindfulness is something that is quite complex. It's a complex subject, but it's something I've been exploring for over 20 years. But to me, it just simply means about being present and awake in the moment. It gives me a lot more time to make a decision, to make a choice. It's about stilling my mind and slowing down and being in a much more resourceful, receptive space, rather than being in that kind of triggered mode of behavior, which can happen quite a lot in the return to school. So we're going back to school, we're late for school runs, or time management can happen, and this can cause a lot of friction within the family. And of course, the children can be quite stressed out with what's going on. So bringing a more mindful attitude into play in those moments helps kind of grow that awareness, and gives you more time to make decisions so that you can consciously create the steps that will take you to the positive situation outcome that you would like to have happen.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful. So I'm just going to interject, if you don't mind. We've got Jean Gibson, who is the author of the ADHD handbook recently published, and she just asked, what age groups do you do teacher training for?
Yeah, so we do teacher trainings for 2 to 12 years. And then this year we're moving into the 12 to 18-year-olds.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, so Jean, maybe you should get in touch with Trish.
We do. We're really inclusive. Our kind of ethos is that everyone can come to our mat. So we have a really an amazing module for children with additional needs. So we can create a class for all kinds of children that come to our mats. So yeah, it might be well up your street.
Yes, absolutely. That's wonderful. So tell us more specifically what kind of techniques you use, or you help parents to use with their children.
Okay, so I like to use I like to use anchoring. So anchoring you can find anchoring in mindfulness, you can find anchoring in NLP. We can do it with ourselves and with our children. You could use a favorite teddy. My son used to use a clothes peg that he used to squeeze when he was in overwhelm. Space in a room can be an anchor, like your favorite part of the sofa can be an anchor. One of my anchors is up by the cooker, being at the helm of my home. But I like to use this one, which incorporates EFT tapping and breath work. It's as you use it, it kind of helps your body relax. Your shoulders will drop and your mind goes still, and it kind of brings you back into right relationship. So EFT, or tapping, emotional freedom technique, it works on the meridians. But this one, if you can see here, we're not tapping on our thumbs and fingerprints, we're tapping on the sides of our fingers. Can you see that? Right. Yeah. Can you give it a go?
Yes, I think so. Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So we're tapping. Right. So I like to call this ninja tapping or stealth tapping, because you can do this in the supermarket, and children can do it underneath their desks, so no one needs to know that they're doing it.
Oh, brilliant.
And as you tap the meridian lines here, you'll just notice that your shoulders will drop, and you get the opportunity to add a breath in. So if we all do what is called the golden thread breath. So it's a breath that comes in through your nose, and then imagine a long golden thread streaming all the way out, taking your stress away on the wind whilst you tap. So
and
again,
is there a specific number of taps to do on each finger, or?
No, you really go with your own intuition.
Right.
But every time you do this, your body relaxes, you settle yourself back into right relationship. It recenters your nervous system, regulates your nervous system, and it puts you back into a parasympathetic mode. It puts you back into rest and digest mode rather than fight and flight mode.
Right.
So it's something the children can do. Sometimes I like to just squeeze them and go through each one. And sometimes it's more of a tapping process that I use along with the breath. And like I say, the kids can do it underneath their desks. No one needs to know. It's really good before exams. It's really good before, there's a lot of presentations. Children have to deliver presentations now in front of their class, and not everyone has the confidence to do that. So it helps bring back a sense of self. You can start kind of feeling inside your own body whilst you're doing it, and having that real sense of that interoceptive space that's inside there. And like I say, the more you practice it, the more effective it will become. So anchoring, this is anchoring, or you might have heard something like grounding. And we use our breath. We can use an object, a sound, a smell, anything that we can deliberately focus our attention on can be used as an anchor. Mindfulness is simply attention in the present moment using an anchor. So that might be coming back to the breath, or it might be coming back to just even holding the thumb on the finger. But if you do this with your child and show them this before they're in a state of, an unhelpful state. So you play with this, practice this. And then when they are in a state of overwhelm or stressed out or worried, you can have a play with this and say, should we do our little ninja tapping? And then start tapping and then bring in the breath.
So it could be a great idea to, if you're in the middle of a fight with your child or a stressful situation, to say, stop, let's just do this. If you've taught it to them before, they'll just know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And so I like to remember the 90-second rule when it comes to that. So when we're triggered and we're cross and we're in that set 2, so it might be like, we've got to leave at 8:30 in the morning, and yet again, you haven't got your shoes on, you haven't got your lunch bag, I haven't got my, and you're in that rush, and the kind of stressed out circuit or the anger circuit is stimulated, and it dumps all that adrenaline in your body. It only actually has 90 seconds in the bloodstream before it's rinsed out. So we've got this amazing opportunity to like de-escalate situations, because we've only got 90 seconds of adrenaline in there at any one time. So we're either in flight or fight mode, or we're in rest and digest mode. They can't be present in the body at the same time. So we have this really amazing opportunity every minute and a half to change our circuitry, if you like. So we can use our focused breathing, anchoring, just taking that moment, tapping. And also tapping can be very gently done at the top of the head. So you've got these little meridian points on the sides of the eyes, underneath here.
Can you show us, Trish? Yes.
Yeah. So let me know that you can see. So it's just on the top of your head here.
Yeah. Okay, is that just with one?
Yeah, you can do one or two hands. And it's literally, you can't go wrong. So with the little ones, when my kids were really little, you can do it on them, as long as they say and they're up for it, and then they get to do it. And here, just by the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Underneath here. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Here. By the collarbones, just below the collarbones.
Yeah.
There's 2 underneath your armpits, just down below your armpits.
Right.
And on the side of the hand, and then this stealth tapping.
How fascinating.
It is fascinating, but this one's really good. My sons really use this a lot in school. And sometimes it's just, you're just pressing like this, and they could just be under the table.
Yeah.
And then when you're in that space, you can really just feel your body relaxing. You're kind of coming out of that fight or flight mode, and you're coming into rest and digest. And another few deep breaths. And the breath will regulate your nervous system and really change you from the sympathetic mode to the parasympathetic mode, from fighting and flying to relaxing. And that's mindfulness. That's being mindful of your behavior, mindful of the spiral of where you're going to go, and then being able to make that change and pull it back and into the present moment. And when you're in that present moment, that gives you time and space to create your responses, rather than just being in a triggered response.
That's such a brilliant yes, technique. Michaela says, a mad question, Trish. I cut my finger off in a lawnmower accident a few years ago. It's really sensitive. Is it okay to miss that finger out? So do you need to go through all 4 fingers?
I would miss that out. If your finger is saying, don't tap on me, miss her out. I would always check in with my finger. Am I all right to tap on you today? You know, you've got your inner sense that says yes or no to things. And actually, the more you do that, the more we create that pathway to our gut instinct, to our inner knowing, to our guide, our inner sat nav. And that's been really screwed with all of us. We, you know, that kind of trusting ourselves as women, as young girls, and then growing up into women, that ability to trust ourselves and move from that point of knowing. We don't need to look outside of ourselves anymore. Your finger knows, and you know whether to tap it or not. And if it's saying, I'm too sensitive today, then leave it out. But if we bring that into our chat with our children, you know, about trusting your instincts of what they know to be true for themselves, that are going to help them in this moment of distress, you know, one child could go to their favorite place on the sofa with their comfy and have the teddy bear that they're softy on the cheek. This is anchoring. This is them coming back home to themselves and settling themselves down. Another child might want to do it through music and put his music on upstairs to settle himself down. Another might want to run. So it is about having that conversation with your children. What works for one might not work for another. I've got my son, his is 2 fingers and it's just above the knee. So he would just fire that point just above the knee. And so that firing, he would start relaxing and coming back, and great before exams or anything like that. Because in our brain is separate. And so when we're in stress mode, we've got this fight or flight barrier that comes up in between. So we will stay where we're most dominant. We won't be able to access, we literally cannot access the other resources in the other part of the brain. So if we're doing this stuff, this anchoring, this mindfulness, this NLP stuff, and we're firing that place where we calm ourselves down, that barrier drops down and we can fire both parts of the brain together, and we are much more resourceful.
Wow, that's brilliant. So a few comments. Michaela says she found out about tapping after her dad died suddenly and found it hugely beneficial. And she also asks, she says, it's fight and flight, rest, and it's digest, isn't it?
Yes.
Rest and
digest. Yeah.
Yes,
and so
resting state.
Yeah. So it's sympathetic mode, which is the fight or flight mode. And the rest and digest is the parasympathetic. And the two can't coexist in the body at the same time. It's one or the other. So we have 90 seconds of the fight or flight, and it only keeps going because we re-stimulate it. So it's our thoughts that he never took the bins out. Oh my God, he did. We're re-stimulating that anger. Or we are re-stimulating it with our children. So it's all done. They've got their shoes on. They're in the car. We're going to school. And then I bring it back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are re-stimulating that kind of thing, you know, after the 90 seconds. So we've got this really good opportunity, and tapping is a great way to bring it back to, and also the other great thing is language. So we don't even get to that.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we don't even get to that point in the first place. And it's really about how we structure our sentences. That's really the superpower. And once we know how to structure it in a way that is to our advantage, our children listen. Not just our children, bank managers listen, teachers listen, whomever we want to talk to starts listening, and you know, there's a much more chance of them doing what we're asking them to do. I have parents emailing me all the time saying this is a miracle, and stopping me on the high street going, oh my God, I tried that thing that you said and it's brilliant. Wonderful. So it works. So the subconscious mind tends to ignore the negatives, so no's and don'ts, and it focuses in on the desired command. So if you shout to your child, don't run, they just keep running because all they hear is run. Yeah. Or don't hit your sister, and then they carry on hitting because they want to know this hitting what does this actually do when they're really little. They don't really understand the concept of it, but all she's hearing you say is hit your sister. So what we need to do is start flipping the negatives to the positives, to what we do want them to do. So instead of run, I mean, this sounds really easy, but we've all been programmed in that kind of double negative speak. So it's quite a challenge to press that pause button and flip it. But if you start doing it and you're really mindful of your sentences, you'll start to notice how a lot of these negatives and undesired commands are tripping off our tongues the whole time. So instead of run, we shout walk. Instead of don't hit, you might say something like use gentle hands, or keep your hands to yourself, or that's hurting your sister, it's making her sad, or stop, like literally just stop. You've got to think direct demands. For younger children, their frontal lobe is underdeveloped, so it's all about repetition, and this can take as long as it takes for each individual child. Some get it quicker than others, but it needs to drop down and become unconscious competence. If you say something like, if you don't eat your dinner, you won't get any pudding, what they could be hearing is eat your dinner and you won't get any pudding. So we flip it to what you do want. So eat your dinner, you will get pudding. Eat your dinner, you will get a story. If you don't get your shoes on, we won't go to the park. Flip it to put your shoes on, we can go to the park. Flip it from we're going to be late, quick, the school run, we're going to be late. Flip it to be we will be bang on time. It's about keeping it positive. I even do things like, can we go to the park, Mum? Yes, tomorrow we can. Today we need to pick Grandpa up from the train station. So rather than leading with a no, which kind of shuts down that system, that emotional system, and that hope of going to the park, suddenly it's shut down and causes upset and pain and crying. You lead with the yes, because you will be going to the park again at some point, but you lead with the yes and when you're able to do it. So even if that's tomorrow, yes, tomorrow we can go, but today we're doing this. And, then if they're sad about it, you recognize the feeling. Yeah, it's really sad that we can't go to today, isn't it? It's, but tomorrow we can really go. That's great. So you flip the positives to what you do want to have happen. You keep it simple. You stick to the commands like brush your teeth. Let's have a story. And the other thing I do as well, which probably lots of mummies know and probably lots you all do, is I always give two choices, both of which I'm happy with. And I even do this with my big teens now as well, even though they know I'm giving them two choices that I'm happy with. So like you can brush your teeth now and then have a story, or you can have a story and then brush your teeth. And it gives them, because they have no choice in their world, children. They just get dragged along, don't they, with whatever the structure is of your family life. They don't really get a say. So giving them a say gives them an opportunity to make right choices, even though the choices you're presenting are both right.
But it still gives them agency in their own lives. And in that moment makes them feel more positive about what they're doing.
Exactly. And also, exactly that. And children, they'll always live up to our expectations of them. So they'll always do as they're told. So if you're always focused on what you don't want them to do or what they're not doing right, then it's not surprising that they do more of that, because that's what we're re-embedding and reinstilling. Right. We're always focusing in on what they're not doing or what they shouldn't be doing. Children will always live up to our expectations. So if you've got yourself in a bit of a rut on that, and you're thinking, well, it's hard to focus in on anything that he does do right, you've really got to press the pause button and really look at your own language. It starts and stops with us. It's about instilling that positive growth mindset in a child. And you've got a fixed mindset and a positive growth mindset. The fixed one develops from an I can't environment. So fear-based, a critical parent kind of environment where the world's harsh, you've got to do better than what you're doing, that's not good enough kind of environment. Whereas the positive growth mindset is grown from an I am environment, a more positive framed language that's being used day in, day out. And those you know, those things can be reinforced and also rewired. Nothing's ever hardwired or fixed. So sometimes when I talk about this in our workshops and things, parents, the guilt comes up, and it's like, but you didn't know what you didn't know up until this point. So we've got to drop the guilt of thinking, oh, I spoke to my child like that, and I've done this and I've done that. We've got to kind of draw a line under that and kind of forgive ourselves and be gentle with ourselves, because we didn't know what we didn't know. And invariably, when we don't know this stuff, we end up talking like and behaving like how we were brought up as children, and not all of that was positive. So we go into we can, you know, go into patterns of behavior that no longer serve, but it is up to us as the adult to find a new way of being and interacting and thinking and feeling and behaving, because we are the lighthouses for the kids. We are the team leader, and they learn through us, and what we say to them, what we say about them, the beliefs, judgments and opinions becomes their inner voice for years to come. But so using a combination of the tools that I've shared today, I mean, there's a whole big massive toolbox really that I could share with you if we had more time, but using the, you know, being really aware of one's own language and thinking about the commands, thinking about the implications of what you're saying or what you're not saying. You know, we might want the best for our child when they come in and show us that they got a C in their exams, or they came in and they got a B in their exams. It's about meeting them there and going, that is amazing, not then saying, well, if you tried a bit harder, you could get the A. If you tried a bit, because that's implying that what they've done isn't good enough. So I always am looking at that in terms of mindfulness. It's about being mindful of the undercurrent of what we're saying and what we're not saying, and how that, and the belief structure that child is soaking up and taking on board. But it's that, you know, we were children as well, and that belief structure that we took on about ourselves and our abilities and our place in this world is a direct result from the significant others in our lives, and they weren't necessarily true.
Yeah, so it is. I mean, it's so true that you often hear people saying, you know, I think I was a disappointment to my father or whatever, and actually that may not have been true at all, but that's what we heard, that's what we felt from the language that was expressed to us, even if those weren't the actual feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's like, we're not no one can be perfect, no one can get this right all the time. But for me, since I've been my eldest is 19, he's going to be 20 this year, I've been dedicated to the power of positive psychology for that amount of time. And I've got it right sometimes, and I've got it drastically wrong lots of times. But I'm in ownership of all of that, and I'm in dialogue with my children about all of that, and they're in dialogue with me. So we didn't do the terrible teens because I'm not having that belief structure. We didn't do the terrible twos because that too wasn't in my belief structure. What was in my belief structure was this deep connection that I have with these little people that chose me to be their mum. And that was, you know, I needed to be the best person that I could possibly be. So I've done a lot of study and a lot of learning, and the tools that I teach my parents and the tools that I teach my teachers, I've used, and I know that they work. And I've also gone on a big healing journey, because I see our children coming in like little lighthouses. They're like little lights. They're so bright, and they've just come from spirit, and they're full of light, and they shine all that shadow part of ourselves up as adults, and they trigger you, and you go into automatic response with them and end up making it worse a lot of the time. But it's about us pressing that pause button and going, actually, my behavior was really shocking that day, and where is it in me? I didn't get seen and I wasn't heard by my 3-year-old, and I felt like I wasn't loved by my 3-year-old. So it's not the 3-year-old, it's I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, and I wasn't felt like I was loved. That's what we need to work on. And that's where you go and seek your your therapy, whatever that is, you know, whether it is a therapist or it's dancing or it's art or whatever it is that fills you up on those levels. And then you can come back to the table wholer and more adult and more able to say, I'm team leader, follow me. And the more they trust that, because children need to feel stable and secure. And if their anchor, I was an independent mother for many, many years. If I was wobbled out, my children were wobbled out. And I could be in the same room, but emotionally and mentally, if I was wobbled out, they could feel it and they would be on me like a badge. And it's like they felt insecure. So their insecurities were coming out. And then you can get trapped in that fight flight mode with them and create all sorts of, long-term behaviors. So it really is about us as parents, like pressing pause, or just people, with not just children triggering us. It's all sorts of things, isn't it? And just being mindful of where we are at in the moment. And it's not about pushing these feelings under the carpet. It's about being really present with them. So, and that's the uncomfortable. Being mindful and using these tools isn't about attaining bliss. It's about leaning into those harsh feelings a little bit more and being really, really honest with yourself and being really, really focused with yourself and going, actually, I need this space right now. I need to go for the walk. I need to go to my yoga class. I need to write and put yourself in that place and give yourself permission to receive it. And that's been my learning with mindfulness, NLP and EFT, all of that journey. It's about just growing awareness of self more, even the gory bits. And your children watch that, my children have watched that. And now as my sons become young adults, they too are implementing a lot of that in their lives. And I'm really grateful because that means they've got a toolbox I never had. I didn't have this toolbox until I was in my 30s. I just think, wow, to be able to give that to our kids when they're little and the parents that are just new parents, that's amazing. So we have like a positive parenting course and it's free.
So, oh gosh, amazing. So where do we find that?
It's on our Wigglebums website. Right. It's under online courses and it's right. You just kind of click on it and it drops down. It's got a drop down box. I think Michaela might have a link. You might go into, sure, or I'll put it in the link. Yes. But it's free, so you can sign up. And I put you in the back end, as it were, and all of this stuff is in there, all the stuff about EFT and NLP. Brilliant. And it just goes a little bit deeper into it. And then you can it's online. So, you know, when you're sat there and you get your cup of tea and you've got your little laptop and you've got that little bit of space, you can just give yourself that bit of time to maybe delve a little bit deeper and give it to yourself a little bit more.
That sounds like a wonderful resource. And you also mentor women, I think, particularly to start their own businesses and develop businesses.
Yeah, we do. So when Lush Tums and Wigglebums, the women that come to us pretty much have never run a business before, but they've got this calling to become a yoga teacher, whether it's for new mummies or for parents and then for adults. So we've launched probably over 100 women into their businesses and then supported them throughout the years that follow. And then off the back of that, all the generic business stuff, we've created like a business boot camp so we've had lots of different women come in, women that have furniture shops to clothes designers have come through, therapists have come through our little business boot camp, and then they get support for the year. And yeah, it's really, really cool to watch women step into their sovereignty and step into their passion, and then watch them grow and then earn really good money for their kitchen table. That will never, ever get weary for me. It's like one of my most favorite things to do.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So So Trish Jean says, I'm loving this and could listen to Trish all day. It really resonates, and know many parents with children with ADHD and related conditions would find what she does useful. And then Crystal, who's also just written a really interesting book about angry mothers, angry motherhood, says, would Wigglebums be appropriate for a 4-year-old boy with mild autism/dyspraxia?
Absolutely, yes. For all of that, all of the above. So all of our teachers have extensive training with children with all kinds of abilities. So that would be absolutely brilliant, and it would really help with dyspraxia. So it, our brains are elastic, so we can start growing new pathways. So the symptoms can become lessened, and you can live within it a lot easier. The toolboxes apply for all children, so whether or not it's children with cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, our classes are suitable for all kids, and so children will come to our class, and we are taking labels off, and we're seeing the little souls that they are, and and we're working with that child and what they present on that day, which would be very different to what they present the following day. So yeah, all of our classes are great for all of that, and also great for mummies as well, because all their carers or daddies or grannies or whomever's coming to the classes as well, because we've just feed in. So all of our teachers are taught all of this stuff, so they've all got the language to use, so all of that is feeding in, just really gently kind of peppering in through that fun, playful class, with the idea that the parents then take that language home with them, and then it starts feeding in throughout their little families. And can make the change from the grassroots up, really.
Yes, and I know you're in Wales, so where are your classes? Are they located in Wales, or are they online, or how can people
so we're all over the place, actually, and we're all over the place. So we've got Wales, London, East London, Sussex. We don't have many. Oh no, we've got a few. So a lot of the time people come and train with us and use their own branding and their own logos, but they'll have their little stamp certified by Wigglebums. So it's not a franchise where they have to come and be Wigglebums. What we encourage, some people start like that, and then we encourage them, as they grow in their business and in their awareness, more often than not, they expand out and create their own brand, and then we can hold their hands with that. And whichever avenue, maybe they might be going more adult mindfulness, more teacher way, or more children's way, but we help them grow with that. So, but it's all on our website where you can find classes and yeah,
that's brilliant. Yes, so Michaela's put the links up, and that's wonderful. So Trish, do you have one last sort of overview tip or anything for parents at this moment?
It's a very challenging time, isn't it, right now, in this moment, to be a parent. I know a lot of parents that have had their babies throughout lockdown, and obviously not had any of the normal interaction that they would have, and have been, kept in their home environments. So it is about reaching out and asking for that extra layer of support. Right now, it is about building friendships, and whether that be online, like in this group that we've got here, or other kind of parenting groups, nursery, you've got like nursery and play groups that you can join, that is normally on Facebook or Instagram and things like that. So my bit of advice is to be real with what's going on for you. We're very easy to put a mask on and say everything's all right, but actually I think it's really important that we go in and we check in with ourselves, and we check in with our sisters, and our from other mothers, and we make sure that everyone is moving through this journey that's happening right now as best they can, and that you're not on your own. you know, I've got this massive toolbox and I get it wrong as many times as I get it right, but I've got a toolbox, and it really helps with my mental health, because that, you know, we're so fixated on our bodies, and of course our, you know, our wrists can break, and we can see that, you know, you can see it. Yeah. But when we've all got our minds, and of course they're going to get sick and ill and break and mend and get back together. Of course they are. We should have well-being centres, not just hospitals, where it's all looked after. So I suppose my overview really is to be gentle with yourself right now, and it's all right not to be all right. And it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And I think we need to do that more as women, you know, use our voice and open our voices more. Yeah.
Oh, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much, Trish. And yeah, everybody's saying, you know, this has been great. Thank you. And Michaela's put the links in the comments. I mean, please do come back into the group and look at the responses from other people who have watched it later on the recording. So really, really grateful to you to have shared that with us today. I think it's been really helpful to a lot of people. And thank you so much again.
Thank you very much for having me, Lucy. It's been amazing. Really loved it.
Great. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.